Hello everyone and welcome to our live coverage of Starlink Group 6-71 mission launching from Space Coast, that is from Space Launch Complex 40 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. Hope you all are doing fine and excited about the upcoming second launch for SpaceX this year. We are super excited bringing you the coverage of SpaceX's 430th overall launch and the second Falcon 9 launch of this year. Also, it is the 417th Falcon 9 launch overall. Today's launch is the second one from Space Coast as SpaceX commenced with their incredible launch cadence for this year from Slick 40. Hello, my name is Dipta Maitra, performing the commentary for today's mission launch, and you are watching AstroYonder live.
Roger, 0G, and I feel fine. Capsule is turning around.
Houston, we see a nominal MECO. Welcome to space.
We are waiting for Falcon 9 liftoff at 3:43 p.m. Eastern Time from Florida for a southeasterly launch for SpaceX Starlink mission. The Starlink 6-71 mission will launch 24 Starlink satellites to low Earth orbit.
Roger.
Excuse me, sorry for that interruption, and would like to welcome Pop Tripika and Angry Bird. Both are our moderators over here. Thanks for joining in, and thanks Pop Tripika that you supported me in the hardest time. Also Angry Bird, and nothing there is like I'm a king or something. But anyways, now let's focus on the mission, and later on we will chat a little bit. So today's mission marks the first dedicated Starlink mission of the year for SpaceX. Now prior to today's launch, SpaceX has launched overall 7,632 Starlink satellites with dedicated 388 direct-to-cell satellites to date. Only last year, 1,982 Starlink satellites were launched. Just imagine, it's a huge number. Now, before moving on, first we would like to thank all of you for joining us today's launch. We express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone for being a part of today's stream. Now, really appreciate you being here. Also, a big thanks to our amazing YouTube community for being here today, supporting us as we provide detailed coverage of space launches, complete with extensive stats and thorough insights. Now, just a heads up, it's me only managing the launch coverages on my own, so if we face any technical hiccups, kindly bear with me. But nothing to worry, I will do my best to guide you through the Falcon 9 rocket launch happening in some minutes. It's now 36 minutes from now. So let's get into the mission details. Now today's weather for the launch is favorable, I guess, but there may be a probability of violating weather constraints due to the concern about liftoff winds, which is at about 64.82 km per hour, which is a little bit on the higher side. Now today it's not clear as we didn't receive any launch weather forecast from 45th Weather Squadron dedicated for the launches. Of course, they have the weather forecast for the weekly and the daily forecast. So I got those details from there only. Now let's keep our finger crossed and hope the launch proceeds on time without significant delays. Although SpaceX did adjusted their liftoff time, now this is the third adjusted time. Now we are heading towards. But if for some reason the launch doesn't happen today, we do have a backup opportunity tomorrow. That is Tuesday, January 7th, with launch window opening at 11:18 a.m. Eastern Time. Now on your screen is the payload details for Starlink Group 6-71 mission. This launch marks the first dedicated Starlink launch of the year, as I mentioned before, built at SpaceX Satellite Development Facility in Redmond, Washington. Now today's launch consists of 24 version mini satellites, and there is no direct-to-cell satellites launched today. Each Starlink satellite is equipped with powerful 5 advanced Ku-band phased array antennas and 3 dual-band parabolic antennas, utilizing Ka and E band to provide increased capacity. Now together these antennas utilizes Ku, Ka and E band frequencies, allowing Starlink to provide high bandwidth connectivity, that is 4 times more capacity per satellite than earlier version. Now with the upcoming launch of Starship, as you guys will be knowing that this time we will be having the Starlink, simulated Starlink, to be dispensed from the Starship, and the SpaceX is claiming that in future they will be opting for the version 3 of Starlink, which is 10 times having more capacity than the current version 2 mini. And I don't know what happened to the version 2, which was initially planned to be dispensed by Starship, although they are just skipping to the version 3. Now let's see what happens. Now each Starlink satellite contains 3 space laser transponders, that is the optical inter-satellite links, which operates at 2 Gbps. And each Starlink version 2 satellite weighs nearly 800 kilograms, that is 1,763 pounds. Starlink satellites are equipped with efficient ion Hall effect thrusters powered by argon. And today's payload will be placed in an orbit with an altitude of 292 kilometers and with an inclination of 43 degrees. Now let's move on to the booster history for today's mission. Booster with tail number 1077 will be supporting today's mission. Now the booster with tail number 1077 has 16 previous flights in its record, including missions like SpaceX Group 5, which marked the 5th operational NASA commercial Crew Program flight of a Crew Dragon spacecraft, and the 8th overall crewed orbital flight. Oh, you were saying about the collar. Sorry about this look. I'm not so much camera friendly, so kindly pardon me for this. Anyway, now the next mission supported by today's booster is the GPS-3 Space Vehicle 6 Inmarsat I6F2 for Inmarsat, a British satellite telecommunication telecommunication company offering telephone and data services globally. Then the CRS-28, that is the commercial resupply service mission to the International Space Station. And that flight marked the 8th flight for SpaceX under NASA's CRS Phase 2 contract. Intelsat G37 for Intelsat SA, Cygnus NG-20, a commercial resupply services mission to the ISS, operated by Northrop Grumman, and recently the TD-7 mission for Singtel Optus, an Australian telecommunication company, but a wholly owned subsidiary of Singaporean telecommunication company Singtel. After a long time, would like to welcome Marcos Antonio over here. Yes, Bob Topeka, we all are excited for this Flight 7 because again this time they are making a good changes in the flight profile and we will be seeing some new stuff again. And what is this you said about will they use stubby nozzle mains? I'm not getting you. Can you tell me again? Now, additionally, the booster also supported 9 Starlink missions, now awaiting its 17th flight just minutes away. It's been 50 days since last supported mission by this booster. The last mission supported by today's booster was the TD-7 mission from here only not from here, from Launch Complex 39A here at Florida on 17th of November last year. Today's mission will be the 17th consecutive launch of this booster from the East Coast, with all launches from Pad 39A and Space Launch Complex 40. This will be the 12th flight for this booster from Space Launch Complex 40, with its 11th landing on Just Read the Instructions drone ship. Now let's take a look at the bar graph showing the number of Falcon 9 launches each year. Before today's launch, SpaceX completed its first launch for this year with the Thuraya 4 mission launch from the same pad as of today on 3rd of January. Previously, SpaceX completed 132 launches of Falcon 9 last year, marking a year with the highest annual launches to date for SpaceX, with a launch count of 134. Because 2 launches were for the Falcon Heavy. But again, if we will be counting the Starship launches, then the number will rise to 138 launches. Now with today's launch of Starlink 6-71 mission, the bar graph depicts 2 Falcon 9 launches for 2025, standing at the beginning of another year full of excitement and record breakers. This year, we might possibly see around 180 Falcon 9 launches as per Elon's tweet. Now please allow us a couple of seconds to check whether the launch is on time. Although it seems like it is. Finger crossed. Now I'm skipping the pre-launch timeline because it's just a typical launch for the Starlink. There is no alteration in the pre-launch timeline. So let's just quickly jump into the trajectory and have a look at the trajectory for today's mission. Falcon 9 leaving the pad from Space Launch Complex 40 from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station with a batch of 24 Starlink satellites on board for a southeast trajectory heading into low Earth orbit. That is to the 6th shell of the second generation Starlink mega constellation indicated by that green line on your screen. The red line indicates where the Falcon 9 first stage will land after stage separation, just a little later leaving Florida's Space Coast. And today it will be going, it is going to be a drone ship landing using autonomous spaceport drone ship. Today's mission is supported by Just Read the Instructions drone ship, one of the two here on the East Coast. Now that means that the first stage booster with tail number 1077 flying for its 17th time will be returning heading out to the drone ship for landing, and that will mark the 104th landing on Just Read the Instruction drone ship to date. The planned booster recovery is 600 kilometers with estimated fairing recovery approximately 670 kilometers downrange. And the stage 2 debris re-entry will be in the Indian Ocean on the second orbit. Now we expect the addition of a fourth drone ship likely early this year as committed by SpaceX. But as of now, currently there are three, as we all know, in SpaceX drone ship fleet. One of the three drone ships just read the instructions, and a shortfall of Gravitas are stationed here in Florida, while of course I Still Love You is stationed in California. Now we are 23 minutes approximately away from the liftoff. So let's take a look at the chat here. Thanks Angry Bird for pushing people to share this stream. And also thanks for Pipika. I saw that you retweeted our tweet there. Thanks for your support. You've always been such supportive to us. Oh, I didn't knew that. Really? But I'm not aware of the nozzle what you are talking about, Paprika. But it seems like they will be having the another variant of the Starship this time, which will allow them to have more propellant. That I got to read about the changes in the flight profile for the Flight 7. But I will take a look into about this nozzle thing, and although there are some streams coming up, so if I will get anything to know about that, I will let you know. Angry Bird is just a cup. I made a timer. I guess it is visible there. Although this timer took me 1 day to make it. Yes, if you can, will be helpful for me also so that I can prepare for the Starship Flight 7 live. So please, Paprika, to have some time if you can share that with me. Now let's move on again to the mission details. Now speaking of fairing recovery, SpaceX will utilize a recovery vessel to retrieve them from the Atlantic waters. The two halves of the payload fairing will be recovered slightly farther downrange, approximately 70 kilometers, from where the first stage will land on Just with the Instructions drone ship after they will smoothly splash down with the guidance of parachutes. SpaceX manufactures the fairing in-house. Excuse me. With the total cost of each half is nearly both the half is nearly $6 million. So no wonder that SpaceX aims to recover the fairings for repetitive use, following its same approach with rocket boosters, upholding the motto of reusability and sustainability. Now on your screen, you can see how a fairing recovery looks like. Although the recovery vessel on your screen is Doug performing the recovery operations, but today's supporting recovery vessel is Bob, and the other recovery vessels Go Beyond at the west coast, Doug, and Go Cosmos here at the east coast is currently awaiting its next assignment. These are some additional images to make you understand how a fairing recovery looks like. Now, if you feel like we are adding value to your viewing experience, please consider giving this video a like. It really helps YouTube's algorithm bring in more space fans to discover this stream. Also consider about smashing that subscribe button and turning on the bell notification as we work hard to bring you detailed stream with stats and insights. Now speaking of stats, let's move on to stats related to today's mission. Today's launch marks the 430th SpaceX overall launch and the first dedicated Starlink launch of this year. This is going to be the 417th Falcon 9 launch to date. The 17th flight for the Falcon 9 booster supporting today's mission, with tail number 1077 being in action after 50 days. Today's mission marks the second Falcon 9 launch and SpaceX's overall launch of 2025. This will be SpaceX's 362nd Falcon booster reflight to date, that is the launch of a booster that has flown at least once before. 226th orbital launch for SpaceX, launching from Space Launch Complex 40. And this is the 281st overall orbital launch from Slick 40. Now with the success of this mission, SpaceX will have a remarkable 7,656 Starlink satellites, including 388 dedicated direct-to-cell satellites launched to date. Now moving on to some reusability statistics. This launch marks 346th Falcon 9 booster reflight to date. This will be the 104th landing on Just Read the Instructions drone ship, 17th landing of the first stage booster with tail number 1077 supporting today's mission. And with this mission's first stage landing, which leads the way to 312th overall drone ship landing, marking 373rd Falcon 9 landing to date and 392nd overall SpaceX landing to date. Now on your screen, here are some of the stats for drone ship landing prior to today's launch. So that's why the count for the successful landings for Just Read the Instructions today, it will be the 104th, but on your screen you can see it is written 103. So just to make sure that these stats are prior to today's launch. Don't get confused with today's launch. Now, excuse me, I'm drinking water in between my. If I'm talking so much, my throat gets dry a little. So yes, although the what can I say, the shape of a fairing, it should be intact, but although we did saw some fairings earlier that they got to be land in bad condition, but actually they are the first thing to be made such hard and a good way, like the rigidity it has to be, because you know that it is the first thing which will be in touch with such the friction from the air and which will be protecting the payload. So anyhow, they has to be made in such a way that the rigidity will be intact. But although with the repetitive use, it comes in a bad shapes also while landing. Now let's move on to the next slide for the mission stats. So here are some of the stats for SpaceX launches for this year, including today's mission. With today's mission, SpaceX will have the second launch of this year, and out of those, one is a Starlink mission, including today's launch, and one was a non-Starlink mission, that is the Thuraya 4 mission for commercial organization. And with today's mission launch, SpaceX will be reusing two reuse booster. Now, if we look into the geographical distribution of these launches, so far they will be having two launches from East Coast only. Both the launches are from Space Launch Complex 40. So far, the Launch Complex 39A at Kennedy Space Center didn't saw any launch. On the West Coast, they have no launches yet. That is the Space Launch Complex 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base. Once again, no launches from Gulf Coast at Starbase in Texas. So now we are waiting for the next one, the seventh one, the seventh integrated flight test for Starship. And we are expecting it can be happening next week, probably 10th of January. But there is a tentative schedule, you can say, although SpaceX didn't mention the date for the Starship yet, but the tentative uh, speculated dates, it seems like, from the launch hazards area mapped and stated, that maybe it can happen between 10th to 16th, I guess. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not sure about this. And all of these dates, the launch will be happening towards the afternoon side, except for the 11th, I guess. Yes, except for the 11th of January, which it can happen. If it will be happening on that date, it can be a early morning launch as previous. Now, as for landings, they will be nailing it today for the second time this year with two drone ship landings, including one from today. Previously, we had one landing on a shortfall of gravitas with a Thuraya 4 mission. And today we will be having one landing on the just read the instructions. As of now, no ground landings. Now, prior to today's launch, the success rate for ground landings is 98.77%, that is with the 80 successful landings. For droneship landing, it is 96.58%, and the overall landing success rate is 97.02% with 391 successful landings. These details which I mentioned just now, it is prior to today's launch. As of now, the landing success rate for 2025 is 100%. Now today's mission is the 66th launch since last mission failure, that is the Starlink 9-3 mission. We are 3 minutes away from the webcast to begin. So let me just quickly wrap up with the stats. Although there is no confirmation for this Long March 3BE launch for China, although it was supposed to be the second orbital launch. Now the most launches in a calendar year, as we know, it is for the last year with 138 launches, including the Starship launches. 65 successful launches since last mission failure, that is Starlink 9-3. 50th successful landing since last failure for landing, that is with the Starlink 8-6. That happened with the drone ship, a shortfall of gravitas. And 283 missions with at least one reused fairing, and approximately, although I'm not sure, but 534 number of fairing half has been reused. Again, these stats were prior to today's launch. Now moving on to this year orbital launches, including today's one. As this is the third orbital launch of the year, although that only I got to check there from the websites, but I'm not getting any confirmation that whether China made it or not, but the launch was supposed to happen 30 minutes before from now. So keeping that in mind, now this one is the third orbital launch, and United States is again leading with 2 Falcon 9 launches, followed by China with 1 launch, which marked the second orbital launch of the year. Hopefully, I'm not getting any confirmation yet. And here is a pie chart showing 2025 orbital launches by rocket variations, including today's launch. Falcon 9 having 2 launches, and China is having 1 Long March 3B E variant rocket, which is having 1 launch so far. Now we are just 30 seconds away from the webcast to begin, I guess. And no, the webcast has begun. Adding value to your viewing experience is our top priority. If you feel we somehow achieve that, please consider liking this video, which will help YouTube's algorithm bring in more space fans and helps others to find out this stream. Once again, I don't know why I'm not hearing the audio from the start this SpaceX webcast. Every time they do so, it makes me scared. And Vivod, you don't have to kick anyone, please. But again, they won't be launching today or something. Let me just check it. They moved the live stream. Okay, we got the feed. But why, Popika, can you check it whether I'm not receiving the audio or is it like for everyone? So we started to pressurize the tanks for the strong back retract, and I guess the strong back retract sequence has started. Sooner maybe we will be able to see that the clamp arms around the stage 2 coming to open up. Welcome, Fairmaid. Nice that you are here. You somehow managed to come. Thanks for joining us. Well, thanks, Pop Tripika, for confirming. I thought again it's me and my OBS. So we are coming at T plus 2 minutes and 41 seconds. It's hard to see a launch without callouts at least. I guess the stage 1 LOX load is complete, which generally completes at 2 minute at or 3 minute, 2 minutes 50 seconds at 3 minute mark. Now we should be coming to the point where the stage 2 LOX load will be getting completed. And at that point, the Falcon 9 will be having 1 million pounds of propellant on board. This is the first launch of Starlink and SpaceX is making this mess. At least the call out is needed. Yes, Ahmed, you woke up at the right time. I hope I could wake up like this. Even I don't respond to my alarms. Now I guess the ground gas closeout had started, and coming up at 1 minute, the Falcon 9 will be in startup. And here we go. Now today I guess we won't be hearing the call out, at least to hear out from the space uh, launch director, go for the launch, and which should be happening at T minus 45 seconds, which just passed by. Now it seems like all systems continue to go for the launch. Now we are getting inside T minus 20 seconds nearly. T minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ignition, and we have liftoff. Thanks they didn't have the call out today. At least I could have the countdown to say. Now we had a successful liftoff. Falcon 9 has cleared the tower. Now vehicle is pitching downrange right now, and I guess stage 1 M1E chamber pressure is nominal right now. It's getting T plus 38 seconds into the flight. Falcon 9 is on its way with the 24 Starlink satellites into low Earth orbit. Guess the power and telemetry is nominal because at this point we used to get this call out. Right now we are heading towards the max Q. We are getting good nice views there. And there we go, max Q. We are through the period of maximum stress on the vehicle. Right now we have throttled the Merlin engines back up to full power. And also right now we started to chill down the MVAC engine on its second stage prior to its ignition just after stage separation. After that we will be having 3 events in rapid succession: the shutdown of main engine on the first stage, that is MECO, followed by stage separation and ignition of the second stage MVAC engine for the first time, that is SES1, which will boost the payload, which will boost the payload into low Earth orbit. And today we won't be hearing those callouts, so keep watching very carefully on your screen with these magnificent views from the first stage right now. And go, we have the MECO, main engine cutoff, stage separation confirmed, and the MVAC ignition. All the back-to-back milestones. Right now, the stage nitrogen, on the first stage, the nitrogen thrusters are beginning to reorient the first stage, and the flight computers, as you can see on your screen, has commanded the 4 hypersonic titanium grid fins to deploy. Now we are waiting for the fairing separation, and here we go, fairing separation confirmed. Now we are getting spectacular views from both the stages. Also we got to see the first stage from the second stage a little. Today it seems such good nice views from them. Just only we are missing the call out from the SpaceX end. Yes, Pop Typica, that is trouble. We are not able to hear the call outs. But anyways, yes, today we didn't got to hear the rumble of the Falcon 9, the first Starlink. So now the first stage is heading back to Earth, and right now it's steering with the help of grid fins. Now the first stage will land on the drone ship just with the instructions stationed in the Atlantic Ocean. Second stage, meanwhile, in middle of its 6-minute burn, is on its way into the parking orbit. Hopefully, both the vehicles are on a nominal trajectory. These callouts, I miss them so much. We are at T plus 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Up until now, the launch has been excellent. We got good views out there. Still, we are having some spectacular views from both the stages today, as it is a daytime launch. The first stage is en route back. The second stage is operating at maximum capacity, and we are getting some nice views. Currently, we are preparing for the first stage to make its return to drone ship landing site. And during this phase of the flight, the stage 1 relies solely on its grid fins for steering as it returns to Earth. And intermittently, you can see those nitrogen gas bursts, which is used for the altitude control. These are basically used to position the vehicle as it heads towards the drone ship. Now coming up at 6 minutes and 2 seconds, we will have the stage 1 entry burn to start up. And there we go, we have the entry burn startup. 3D Merlin 1D engines on the first stage. Now we are rapidly slowing down the vehicle, as you can see on your left hand side of the lower bottom side of your screen from the telemetry. And this burn lasted just around 23 seconds. Stage 1 entry burn now is being finished. Now sooner the vehicle will be transonic, and approximately at T plus 7 minutes and 48 seconds, stage 1 landing burn will commence. Meanwhile, let me have a look through the chats. These things you don't have to mention over here. Angry Bird. Yes, Bob Rebecca, I also, because I don't know, this stage 1 camera is looking a little bit, not just for this entry burn, before also that look, stage 1 look is a little bit blurry, but second stage is giving crystal clear views. And to Bob Rebecca, I'm asking, do you see any difference in the visual quality of the stream? Can you tell me? And there on your screen you can see the stage 1 landing burn has commenced. The center E9 engine is now lit. We are slowing down the vehicle very rapidly. Should be seeing those landing legs deploy any seconds now. And stage 1 landing has been confirmed. We have successfully made the 373rd landing of an orbital class Falcon 9 rocket. Coming up next, we will have the second stage engine cutoff, that is SECO 1, and following that event we will enter into 46 minutes of a coast phase as the vehicle ascends to its target orbit. Today we won't be getting those callouts to here, but now we can see on your screen that the SECO 1 happened, and with that, SpaceX stream has ended. So that's it. We missed the call out from SpaceX end, although we didn't got any confirmation as there was no call out for a good nominal orbit insertion happened or not. Anyways, today's launch marks the SpaceX's 430th successful mission, with the landing marking their 392nd success. And with that, we will also wrap up our coverage for now. And before going, would like to thank Fairmed for waking up in between and to tuning in, and would like to apologize also from it is from my end only that we couldn't make these streams in between, was going through some issues. So right now we are back once again, and we will be trying our hard like level best so that we can stream every possible event. And Paprika, thanks for the confirmation. I made some changes in the stream, so that's why I asked you in the OBS, excuse me. No, actually the mic is not cutting out. I am a little talking low. It's late at night here. It's 2:30 and I'm not like I don't want to bother parents around. That's why. So be sure to check out our social media handle on X for the latest happenings in the space industry and updates on the upcoming launches. And we hope that you all enjoyed the stream and we could provide some merit to the stream and to your viewing experience. Once again, we appreciate you all for joining us for today's launch. And as we couldn't wish you all earlier, now we are wishing you and your family a happy new year, also a nice week ahead. So would like to say thanks once again to our moderators here, Fairmaid, Angry Bird, and Poptripika for joining us, taking your time to tune in, and mostly all three of you for supporting me during this hardest phase of my life, as you all know what I'm going through. So for now, see you again. Thanks for watching everyone, and you were watching AstroYonder live and me, Dipta, right now signing off, and we will see you next time.